Welcome to the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce. The Falmouth Chamber is dedicated to working on behalf of our members to make Falmouth a better place to live, work, and conduct business. We are committed to developing the economic, cultural, educational, and civic interests of our community and welcome the support from all organizations to achieve our combined goals. Whether you call Falmouth home, are a summer resident, or a visitor, we hope you take advantage of all that the Chamber has to offer.
Carlson Printing for all your printing needs. 508-548-7303 or toll free at 1-800-696-7303. Our email address is carlsonprinting@aol.com. Carlson Printing for all your printing needs.
Hosting services for fctv.org are provided by Meganet Communications. Meganet offers a wide array of internet services including Mega Backup Cloud Service, server co-location, T1, fiber, Metro Ethernet, as well as telephone services such as hosted PBX and digital voice. Their number one goal is to keep your communications network up and running and allow you to focus on growing your business. 877-634-2638 or meganet.net.
Welcome everyone to the March 11, 2019 Board of Selectmen meeting. It is the 6:30 open session, moving straight to executive session under General Laws Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to review and discuss the settlement proposal for the litigation Taylor versus Falmouth Police Department in the United States District Court. And I state that to not go into executive session would prejudice the town's position in this matter.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Roll call.
Patterson,
By roll
aye.
call.
English Praga, aye.
Moran, aye.
Jones, aye, and
And we
Brown,
will
aye.
return right after. Thank you.
Thank you.
on to the 7 o'clock open session of the March 11, 2019 Board of Selectmen meeting. We'll start with a Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is the 2019 Falmouth Historical Society Heritage Awards. And there are a couple of certificates of recognition. The first one is for Virginia Valiella, and it states, "Be it hereby known that the town of Falmouth offers its most sincere congratulations to Virginia Valiella in receiving the 20th Annual Falmouth Historical Society Heritage Award for your enduring commitment to the improvement and importance of our community. Your contributions to our town and to Falmouth's population have made it a better place for all of us. Given this 30th day of April 2019 by the Board of Selectmen."
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next.
We have also a certificate of recognition for Vicki Lowell. The town of Falmouth honors Vicki Lowell. Be it hereby known that the town of Falmouth offers its most sincere congratulations to Vicki Lowell in receiving the 20th Annual Falmouth Historical Society Heritage Award. For your enduring commitment to the improvement and importance of our community, your contributions to our town and to Falmouth's population have made it a better place for all of us. Given this 30th day of April 2019, Falmouth Board of Selectmen, Susan L. Moran, Megan English Braggett, Douglas H. Jones, Samuel H. Patterson, and Douglas C. Brown.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And one final certificate of recognition. The town of Falmouth honors Carolyn Partan. Be it hereby known that the town of Falmouth offers its most sincere congratulations to Carolyn Partan in receiving the 20th Annual Falmouth Historical Society Heritage Award for your enduring commitment in the improvement and importance of our community. Your contributions to our town and to Falmouth's population have made it a better place for all of us, given this 30th day of April 2019 Falmouth Board of Selectmen.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a proclamation with respect to White Ribbon Day, which will be March 19, 2019. I just want to call up Dr. Sandra Feynman, if you want to just, it's a long proclamation, but maybe just give us a highlight on what's to come. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Hello. My name is Sandy Feynman Silva, and I live in Falmouth. And a group of us got together this year to promote what is called White Ribbon Day. Domestic and sexual violence remain a leading cause of death and injury, especially for women, even in the era of the Me Too movement and increasing awareness globally. This societal epidemic does not discriminate with respect to race, ethnicity, social class, or gender. And statistics on domestic and sexual violence are sobering, even on Cape Cod. More than half of all female homicide victims in the United States are killed by an intimate partner, according to the Federal Centers for Disease Control. The only thing that kills more women is car accidents. 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused before they reach their 18th birthday. And 1 in 5 women and 1 in 71 men will be raped at some point in their lives, according to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center. Cape Cod-based Independence House sees more than 9,000 domestic violence and sexual assault survivors and their families each year on Cape Cod alone. The White Ribbon Campaign is one way to bring public attention to the crisis of domestic and sexual violence and declare that this is a men's issue. It was created by a group of men in 1991 in reaction to one man's massacre of 14 female nursing students in Montreal, specifically because they were women. This happened in the 1980s. This campaign has mobilized boys and men around the world to take a stand against violence against women. Today, White Ribbon events are held in more than 60 countries worldwide to encourage men in particular to make a public statement pledging to end violence against women and all gender-based violence. In the United States, White Ribbon Day events are generally held during the month of March, Women's History Month. Jane Doe, Inc., the Mass Coalition Against Sexual Assault and Domestic Violence, spearheads the White Ribbon Campaign in our state. The White Ribbon Campaign mobilizes men and boys to change societal attitudes and beliefs that perpetuate and make excuses for violence against women and promote safety and respect in all relationships. We have asked the town of Falmouth to join us in acknowledging the serious epidemic of domestic and sexual violence by proclaiming March 19th to be White Ribbon Day, by wearing white ribbons and joining together at a community event to be held at 9 a.m. in the Falmouth Public Library Herman Room, and to take the White Ribbon Day pledge. From this day forward, I promise to be part of the solution in ending violence against women and all gender-based violence. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have a proclamation here.
Whereas our community, Falmouth, Massachusetts, is deeply concerned about the public health and public safety of issues of violence against women and all gender-based violence, including sexual assault, rape, domestic violence, stalking, sexual harassment, and human trafficking. And whereas the many cultures represented in our community are all affected, including heterosexual, gay, bisexual, and transgender individuals, communities of color, immigrants, the youth, the aged, the infirmed, and the differently abled. And whereas the White Ribbon Day campaign believes that the majority of men wish to make a positive contribution towards ending this violence, and that by reimagining manhood, we can break down the rigid gender roles and power dynamics that contribute to and foster gender-based violence. And whereas our municipality, along with other municipalities across the Commonwealth, is committed to taking tangible steps to raise awareness, to support survivors, to hold offenders accountable, and to promote safety, equity, and nonviolence in our community. And whereas our municipality recognizes the important life-saving work of Independence House, Inc., and the Falmouth Human Services located within our community, and whereas the White Ribbon Day pledge states, from this day forward, I promise to be a part of the solution in ending violence against women and all gender-based violences. Therefore, be it resolved, 1, that March 19th, 2019 is proclaimed White Ribbon Day in Falmouth. 2, that all members of the Falmouth Board of Selectmen and all municipal employees are encouraged to wear the white ribbon during the week of White Ribbon Day. 3, that the White Ribbon Day pledge provided by the White Ribbon Campaign be displayed at the municipal offices in such a location that can be seen and may be signed by elected officials, employees, and visitors alike. And 4, that white ribbons will be made available by White Ribbon Campaign representatives to visitors to the municipal offices during the week of White Ribbon Day. It witness whereof we have here to set our hand and cause the great seal of town of Falmouth to be affixed. So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you
Thank
for
you very
moving
much.
this effort forward, very important.
I'll be sure to wear this.
The next item on the agenda is recognition. Ms. Braga.
I just wanted to recognize, it happened on March 2nd, so we did have a joint meeting with the school committee, but this is sort of our first meeting back here as a board since then. But I want to recognize the wonderful efforts of the Falmouth Education Foundation. They had their gala this year on March 2nd and before, so not inclusive of whatever they raised at that gala. They were just under $1 million that they had given back to the schools in this community since the time that they were created. So all of the individuals, it really takes an enormous volunteer effort for the group to operate year-round, but particularly for the gala, because it's such a big event. But all of that work and all of the individuals who come and attend and donate their time and then donate for items, all of that goes back to our schools for some really phenomenal, we get to see some of the, during their presentation, some of the projects that teachers are able to take on. And so just a huge thanks to FEF and to all of the educators who make use of those grants and those funds, and then obviously to all of the public who have supported them. That's a pretty impressive number when you think about $1 million going back to our public schools. So big thanks to them.
Can I just mention, the honoree for that gala was Michael and Joanne Fishbein, truly deserving people who have given to this community and contributed to our public schools. And I just want to mention that they were, highlighted as really outstanding citizens in Falmouth.
Good point.
Congratulations to them as well. The next item on the agenda is public comment. It's an opportunity for folks to speak for 2 minutes on an item that's not already on the agenda. Is there anyone here for public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'll go back to announcements. Are there announcements?
I just have one
Thank
quick
you.
announcement. This Saturday from 6 to 11, so this Saturday, the 16th, the Portuguese American Association is going to have their St. Patrick's dinner dance. So there'll be a whole bunch of Portuguese Americans celebrating St. Patrick's Day, so you really shouldn't miss it.
Any excuse, let me just say.
Exactly. So there's going to be traditional corned beef and cabbage dinner. There's a DJ, there's dancing, there's raffle prizes. It's a really wonderful event, great food, all home cooked. It's a $25 donation. All kids 12 and under eat for free. So hopefully, if you haven't made plans already, you'll join us on Saturday the 16th from 6 to 11.
And they all dress. It's so festive.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Too bad you're competing with the Elks for the fundraiser too on the same time.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Where is that? Do you know where that's going to be
The Elks
located?
Club, right down
Yeah.
the road.
But I mean,
Palmer.
at the club, okay.
Yeah, it's just
in
a
case
fundraiser
people
with the
wanna know.
band, just a little
They can make both.
fundraiser.
Some competition.
Yeah, a little competition.
Any other announcements? Okay, next, under summary of actions, we have whether to approve an application for a change of manager for an all-alcohol restaurant license for AM Dining, Inc., doing business as the Golden Swan Indian Cuisine, located at 323 to 325 Main Street. Welcome.
Before I missed an announcement. We were supposed to announce the bowling
Oh, we'll
tournament
get back to it.
Okay.
And can I just make a disclosure?
Sure.
I just want to disclose that I have represented the owners of this restaurant, not related to this undertaking whatsoever, but just in another capacity several years ago. So I don't believe there's any conflict of interest. I just wanted to disclose that for
Thank
public.
you for that.
We don't have a problem with that.
Welcome.
My name is Theodore A. Schilling. I'm an attorney. I'm from Ossipville, Massachusetts, on a one-day pass. And I have Just Winder Tin here, who's applying to be the manager of the restaurant. It's the Golden Swan Indian Cuisine, and it's AM Dining, Inc. on Main Street. I'm sure you all know it. They've been in business for 13 years. I originally helped them do that. I don't believe that they've had any difficulties with the liquor license. Jeswine is very familiar with the laws and with the ID checking and, with the alcohol serving. And she has all that experience, 13 years at the same place.
Is she tip certified? Ma'am?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Are there questions from the board?
I have two.
Doug?
And have you held a liquor license manager position before?
She has not.
Just the typical thing we tell every new alcohol manager, just to remind you that you are responsible fully for any violations that are done concerning alcohol at the place. Even if you're not there, you are still responsible for it?
Yes, she understands that.
Great.
Actually, I talked to her about that.
I would move approval of the application.
Second?
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda is whether to approve an application for a one-day wine and malt liquor license for Gray Matter Marketing, doing business as Cape Cod Brew Fest, to be located at Barnstable County Fairgrounds, 1220 Nathan Ellis Highway in East Falmouth. Are the proponents here? We've seen this before. What it would be the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Is there a second? Oh, Sam.
Second, but I do have one. I noticed that the police had a request that they coordinate this activity with the Falmouth Police Department, and I don't see it listed under the conditions here, but I think it would be a good thing to add to it, since they've made that specific request.
Can we just add this to the
Certainly.
sign list? Okay, so would that be an amendment to the motion?
I'll accept that amendment.
And then you seconded,
Second.
Sam? All those in favor?
Aye.
So do we need to get a new license to have that condition added, or?
I think we
just
write it right
communicate
in
it?
there.
I would ask if you could put that on in writing, and if we
Great.
need to reissue, we can certainly do that.
It just says be required to speak with the detail sergeants.
Right.
Exactly. The next item on the agenda is whether to approve an application for a change of manager of a common victular restaurant license, Betsy's Diner, located at 457 Main Street, Falmouth. Are the proponents here? Welcome. Hi, please introduce yourself.
I'm David Chandler from First Chandler Corporation, Betsy's Diner.
Welcome to Falmouth.
Hi.
And
I've
would-
been here.
To this room.
Exactly.
Yeah, really, it's been 25 years.
And would you tell us a little bit about what you'd like us to approve?
What I'd like to do is I'm trying to transfer the management of Betsy's Diner to Kaz, Mr. Kuchikarian here, and of Talk of the Town Diner. He's the new owner of Betsy's Diner.
Terrific.
There are many people in town thrilled that this is happening.
Me too.
Absolutely.
Really happy it's gonna continue
I'm
on
glad
there.
it's happening, trust me. I want to see it go. Very excited. He is. I know.
Terrific.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Are there any questions?
And
Doug?
just to give a chance to Mr. Kucharian to maybe tell the audience, or tell the people at home, what kind of changes or lack of changes are going to happen at Betsy's Diner.
Yeah, so we took some, Dave and I had met early in January prior to them closing, and, we had kind of sat down and, there was a kind of a game plan as to giving Betsy's a little bit of a revamping on the inside. And, so we purchased all new equipment, laid new tiles in the kitchen, really from A to Z. My wife, my family were in there scrubbing for a good 7 days type of thing. It's been, it's been a lot of years there. So it's very, as my wife said, if our grandchildren cannot eat here, no one's eating here type of thing. So she was just, over the top with cleaning from the perspective of getting it nice and, just giving it some attention. And at the same time, we want to just continue the great reputation that Betsy's had as a, as a institution in this town. And so we're looking to, we're adding a lot of gluten-free items to the menu that we carry in the other two facilities, waffles and pancakes and, of course, toast and other, other various gluten-free items. We're going to bring our culinary cuisine that we have done for years now. It's traditional cooking, and basically we're looking to, probably by Memorial Day, looking to open at night, because I really want to truly bring back that whole mystique of the diner, and look at maybe opening from, 7 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night type of thing. No alcohol, just, regular diner atmosphere. We have no TVs in our establishment. It's all about the nostalgic, the 50s music, the ambiance, and just kind of get a break from, our day-to-day, what we experience in our life, in our society nowadays. We have very exciting staff that's really cannot wait to get going. And we're going to be meeting with the health department tomorrow, and hopefully she'll give us her blessing, and we're going to open up Friday morning. So I'm very, very happy. It's very exciting, yeah. And I've been in this business for 43 years. I started with my grandfather at the New Yorker Diner in Watertown when I was 15. My sons are involved. My daughter's involved. I have 7 grandchildren who will be involved at some point. But yes, it's very. I'm actually proud that we're able to come in and keep Betsy's going. So.
That's terrific.
The one thing I know from the Watertown Diner is being open during the late night or early morning, and I'm just thinking maybe even early hours than 7 o'clock, you may find that there's a business out there looking for, there are people out there looking for breakfast even
Yeah,
prior
I have to be honest with you. When I opened the Bourne Diner, we started at 6 o'clock because everyone wanted me to open at 6 o'clock. But nobody comes in at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
It's like 3 or 4 people. And the thing is that for us, that whole hour and a half swing,
Yep.
Is a big swing. To get up at 4:30, 4:45, it's been my experience over the years that basically it's a little more healthy to open at 7 o'clock and let Dunkin's and, them take care of the coffee early. But there's never been a traffic for me. I mean, so I just feel that, we come in there with fresh legs at 7 o'clock and smiles on our faces and ready to rock and roll type of thing. Whereas though at 12 o'clock when you're up at 4:30, it's just a little different. So, and we're, and I just want to also say that We've kept since I've opened up in Falmouth and Bourne, we keep a 20% discount to all our military, first responders, fire, and police departments, which will continue here.
Right.
Fridays, we do a first responder special for like $6 for all first responders. And, those traditions, and, we've always given back to the town as far as the school departments are concerned, athletic programs. And I have a lot of good, I think I have a lot of good ideas to be able to help work with, the town to do what we can at Betsy's.
I would move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you very much.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is whether to approve an application for a one-day wine and malt liquor license for VIPS, Volunteers in Public Schools, Inc., to be located at Mahoney's Garden Center, 958 East Falmouth Highway, East Falmouth. Welcome.
Thank you.
Always a favorite.
Yeah, thank you. So nothing different. This was our second year in a row, adding the beer and wine taste to go along with the taste of the food we've been doing.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, sorry, Tracy Crago, Falmouth Vips. So this is year 17, but year number 2 asking for the one-day beer and wine license permit.
I'd move approval.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Then I'm also going to take out of order the number, under business number 4, whether to vote to approve a request for an off-premise promotional sign for the VIPS event at Mahoney's Garden on Friday, June 7, 2019.
Move approval.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Terrific. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is under administrative orders, whether to vote to approve a request from the Falmouth Housing Corp. For a waiver of the water tapping fees and the sidewalk bond for the Little Pond Place Affordable Housing Complex. And who is here to present for that one? Linda was here last time, and she did present it.
Yeah, this was asked to be carried, Madam Chair.
Right.
Just as a reminder to the board, the Public Works has recommended against this. It is not something that is currently in the Selectmen's waiver policy, but certainly that would be the board's pleasure as to what you prefer. The Public Works mentioned the sidewalk bond is a critical item that ensures that that particular element is dealt with and it is refunded when that's concluded. And the water tapping fee, we have not gone in that direction in the past, and Public Works does have a concern about waiving that fee primarily because it transfers that responsibility elsewhere.
Could I ask, did we hold it because we were waiting for some more information? Like about the actual numbers?
Right.
That was part of it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I apologize, I don't think we got any more information on that.
They were offering maybe they would want to pay for the equipment, but hopefully the labor could be waived but we wanted to know how much we were
I
waiving.
think we were trying to find out an actual, so we could,
What the
Madam Chair, if
value
it's
was.
agreeable, could we carry this further? And I will check with Public Works. I don't believe we got that information in.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is whether to vote to authorize the town to locate an eligible purchaser for 338 Sam Turner Road. Mr. Suso.
Yes, we have Carla Ferroni is with us this evening to, our housing coordinator, make some comments and update on this item. If
Welcome,
have
Carla.
Step up.
Thank you. Carla Froni, Falmouth Housing Coordinator. So 338 Sam Turner is an affordable unit, single-family home, that came before the board at the end of last August. The owner intended to sell the property, and last year you voted to exercise the town's right to find an eligible purchaser. And the Housing Assistance Corporation of out in Hyannis began marketing the unit. They found an eligible purchaser, and when that purchaser had a home inspection done, the inspection revealed that there was some water damage to the property. So we gave the homeowner an extension to find an eligible purchaser, and the property remediation took longer than was expected. So it wasn't completed until the second week of February. So at that point, we only had 2 more weeks left to find an eligible purchaser. So what has happened is that the owner gave us a new notice of conveyance, intent to sell, which starts the process over again. And so I'm here tonight to ask you to vote to approve an authorization to locate an eligible purchaser for this unit.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can-
Thank
may-
you very much.
Can I ask you a
Sam?
question?
Yes.
Will this be put on the multiple listing service?
They all are put on the MLS
They are.
now. They are.
Because I think in the past, we had some issues where the owner didn't want to share that cost, and therefore it never got listed, so that's why I was curious.
I think we paid for it this time. Didn't we?
Yes, and
Uh.
there's actually a few purchasers who are interested. The original purchaser, and there are some now who participated in the lottery for 72 Deer Pond, and they weren't selected, and so they've expressed interest in this unit as well.
Good. Thank you.
Thank
Great,
you.
that'll save some fees. The next item on the agenda is whether to vote to appoint a Falmouth representative to Cape and Islands Water Protection Fund Management Board. Mr. Sousa, do you want to give the overview?
Certainly, thank you, Madam Chair. As the board will recall, as part of the state legislation that relates to the seasonal lodging tax, pardon me, it's a portion of it has to do with creating the Cape and Islands Water Protection Fund, and that is a fund that will be overseen by a representative from each municipality, not only on the Cape, but also on the islands, both Vineyard and Nantucket. And we have received a request, which the selectmen have been copied with, from the Cape Cod Commission, if we would move forward to designate an appropriate representative for this water protection fund. And they would begin meeting sometime within the next couple of months. Selectman Chair Sue Moran and I have discussed this briefly, and a suggestion was to possibly consider Assistant Town Manager Peter Johnson Staub, which I would be quite comfortable with, assuming that the board would be as well. And although Peter is not with us here this evening, he's indicated a willingness to serve in that capacity.
Are there other boards we're going to appoint him to when he's not here, too?
I was going to say, I was
Go
hoping
get
we
the
could
list.
surprise him. So
So
it
mo-
sounds like there's a favorable view
So
toward
moved,
that.
yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
All
That's
those
a
in
great idea.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Sousa.
Great.
I think Peter will be an excellent representative. He's got, more than 20 years of experience in government on Cape Cod and including other municipalities, and so he's going to be in a good position. He's also extremely articulate. He knows how to put together a really good, strong argument.
Great. Next item on the agenda is whether to vote to accept fiscal year 2019 wellness grant from the Cape Cod Municipal Health Group in the amount of $600 to the Personnel Department grant account.
Move approval?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. The next item is whether to authorize an application for a Housing Choice Initiative grant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is some information in the board's packet on this, these two proposed grant requests, and we have Town Planner Tom Bott with us this evening. A tip of the hat to Tom for carrying the ball on recognizing that these are available and suggesting potential consideration. I know Tom has an update on one there.
Do you want to
One
take
may
both
be more
grants?
eligible than others. Well, it's
Do we have
both
30
E and
seconds?
F, so they're consecutive.
Okay,
I mentioned them both in passing.
Okay, great. We do have a hearing at 6:30.
Which is now.
7:30, rather. I'm looking at the clock that hasn't been forwarded.
Right.
Why don't we hold that for a minute? We'll take them both at the same time, since Tom's already ready, and we'll just get to the hearing quickly and then move back.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. We'll be right with you. The next item is a 7:30 public hearing application for a shellfish aquaculture license. Peter Chase and Francis Doohan, work float located at mooring number 37 in Great Harbor, Woods Hole, Mass. The public hearing notice states that the Falmouth Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing under Section 240-77, which are the wetland regulations of the zoning bylaw, on a request for a shellfish aquaculture permit by Peter Chase, 35 Westmoreland Drive, Falmouth, Mass., and Francis Dewan, 54 Hilton Ave, Woods Hole, Mass. The request for the permit was received on January 22nd, 2019, in the office of the Board of Selectmen. The hearing will be held on Monday, March 11 at 7:30 p.m. It's 2019, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, Town Hall, located at 59 Town Hall Square, Falmouth, Mass. The application is for a permit to grow eastern oysters in a suspended aquaculture site within a perimeter of 36 by 20 work float located on mooring number 37 in Great Harbor, Woods Hole. The mooring is located approximately 135 feet north of Ram Island in 20 feet of water depth at mean low tide. Copy of the aquaculture license application is on file at the office of the Board of Selectmen, and the publication date was Friday, March 1st, 2019, in the Falmouth Enterprise. Welcome.
Thank you.
Could you tell us about this application, please, and introduce yourselves?
Sure. Peter Chase, 35 Westmoreland Drive, Falmouth. It is a work float, maximum size, 36 foot by 20 foot, on mooring number 37, Great Harbor. And it's essentially just like any other float you see out in Great Harbor, but it will have cages that hang underneath to grow oysters within those cages. And it is right next to two other floats that are very similar that have been permitted in the past. This is Francis, the mooring owner.
Francis Dewan. I don't have much to say. I love the idea. We have, my family has a houseboat on the site, which blew away in a storm a couple of years ago, and we haven't replaced it yet, but we plan to put up a small hideaway out in the harbor just for evening use, watching the sunset, etc. But I have no objection at all to using my mooring for oysters. I think it's a great idea.
Great. Terrific. Other questions?
We do have recommendations both from the Shellfish Advisory Committee and from the, from Chuck Martinson, both in support of it, and saying that there are no navigation issues with the mooring at the site.
Great. Seeing nothing from the board, are there any members of the public who would like to speak in favor of this application?
We do have a representative from the Shellfish Aquaculture
Yes.
Agriculture Advisory Committee.
Welcome.
Yes, I'm Tom Duncan. I'm a member of the Shellfish Advisory Committee, and I'm not speaking for the committee tonight. I'm speaking as an individual, but we did unanimously endorse this project. We think it's a very good site. We think there are very good personnel involved, and we think it's a very good thing for the town to be involved in. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Are there any members of the public who would like to speak against this application?
I move we close the hearing.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
What would be the board's pleasure?
Is this the first step that then gets you to apply for the review of it with the Fisheries Department, or is this?
Yeah, so if you all approve, it goes to the Division of Marine Fisheries, and they do a survey underneath the area. And then
conservation.
also a Concom determination of applicability, and then Army Corps of Engineers.
And then it comes back to us, I think, at the final approval again.
Probably. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
It's a long road.
It is.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
So is this endorsing this?
Yeah,
I move approval.
I would second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I just thank you for, it was a very complete bit of information that was provided, so it was very helpful. Thank you.
Thanks.
Nice job. The next item on the agenda is whether to, let's see, I want to watch what time. We're going to go back to,
This has been continued anyway.
right. I'll just wait, just in case someone is coming for that. So we're back to whether to authorize an application for a Housing Choice Initiative grant and whether to authorize an application for a Mass Development Real Estate Technical Assistant grant for Davis Straits Master Planning. Mr. Rott, welcome.
Evening, Madam Chairman, members of the board. I'm Tom Bott. I'm the town planner here in Falmouth, Mass.
Welcome.
Two items. I'll talk first about the one that sort of got away again, the Housing Choice Initiative. This is a program that the state has had for the last 2 years. It's modeled after the Green Communities Act, which is an excellent program in its own right that we should probably look into as well. And essentially, if you make so many best practices towards housing, you meet this threshold where you can become a certified housing community, housing choice community, and be eligible for additional grants. So some of those grants that were recently awarded to places like to Barnstable got $250,000. Let me make sure I got the number right. Yeah, to Barnstable for $250,000 for a sewer line extension in the downtown area. Provincetown received a grant for $250,000 to assist in some of the affordable housing units that they're building out there. So it's not small money, but we have to do some additional work to qualify for that. And I would never want to do things just to chase money, while if those things are consistent with our other goals for the town, we might look to some of those things. So last year there were 4 out of 9 practices you had to follow. This year it's 5 out of 11. So while we don't qualify for the grant or the initiative this year, there are some things that we can look towards, including becoming, signing in for the Commonwealth Compact for best housing practices, as well as some zoning changes as well that might include inclusionary housing, where 10% of housing development, 10% of the housing units in a new development would be set aside as affordable units, as well as some smart growth zoning that may be work into play in the Davis Straits area under 40R. So sadly, we haven't qualified, but we've got the potential to get there. And if we can line up our ducks with our policies that comport with the state's policies, I think it's a very good program to move forward on. Regarding the better news, we have, I'm in the midst of finalizing a grant to Mass Development for the Davis Straits Reset area. This would be a grant up to $50,000. There's no match. There's a memorandum of understanding to be entered into as well. And this would be for some visioning, some master planning, and some economic analysis, market analysis for the Davis Straits area. This comports very well with the work of the Davis Straits Reset Plan that we've already done, the ongoing work of the Cape Cod Commission under the Community Resilience by Design, and we recently were notified that we are eligible for the DLTA grant that we also applied for some form-based zoning. So we're putting our ducks in a row, trying to move the ball towards this. I've been told this is a very competitive grant, but I think we've got a lot of work that we've already done that shows the commitment of the town and the community to moving forward to this. So with that, I would like authorization to submit the grant. It's a competitive grant, and we won't know for a few months whether we're in the game or not.
So if I heard you correctly, on the Housing Choice Initiative grant, we're working toward that, but you're not asking for authorization today, but you are asking for authorization for the Mass Development Real Estate Technical Assistance Grant for Davis Straits Master Planning.
Correct. Sorry if I wasn't clear on that.
No, I just want to make sure everyone at home understands.
That's what I heard. Now I'll make the motion to approve the application for the Mass Development Real Estate Technical Assistance Grant.
Second. Oh.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Can I
Yes,
just ask
thanks.
one
Please, yep.
question before Tom goes?
Yes.
As to sort of the Housing Choice Initiative grant, what is the timeline? So when would we have to kind of be, application ready? When do those grants go out?
So this is an annual grant. So we're essentially got, it's due the 14th, so we have 367 days to move the ball.
Okay, great,
So
thank you.
next November town meeting, we have to get some stuff done
Right.
to get there.
Can I
Terrific.
follow
Sam?
up? Yeah, I mean, last year, we weren't eligible for this particular program that was put out.
That's correct.
Because we hadn't produced enough new units. But you think this is a goal that we could attain?
Yeah, there are 2 thresholds. One is if you create 500 new units, you're in.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything smart. You just have to build a lot of houses.
Right.
In our case, where we are under that 500 unit threshold, if you have 300 units or 3% growth over 5 years, you can qualify if you have 5 of 9 of those best practices. We have several of them in place. Our Falmouth Housing Trust qualifies us for some of that work. Some of our zoning is already in place. We just don't have enough best practices towards housing to qualify for that in this year.
So do you anticipate that we might get those in play by this fall?
Things like the community compact, I think, are much more easy to predict. But some of those issues involve zoning. So if we're looking at zoning for inclusionary housing and for 40R, that's a fair amount of legwork and a 2/3 vote at town meeting. So I'll do my very best, and we'll see how that plays out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Thank you very much. I'm gonna just go to the hearing that was scheduled for 7:45, which was the flow neutral bylaw valuation of request for variance, Holmes and McGrath, 24 Spencer Baird Road, Woods Hole, parcel 49A 06000D 044, continued from February 25th, 2019. And there has been a request for a continuance of the hearing to Monday, April 22nd, 2019, as the request was by the owners to have more time to consider recent submissions.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
I just was wondering if there was anyone else here for the...
Yeah, I saw Mike, oh, there you are. Is there anyone else besides Mike here? Yep.
Okay, great.
Most importantly for this hearing, though, so your continuance, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye is granted.
Madam
Thank
Chair,
you.
just to confirm, do you
Yep.
want to keep the time identical? 7:45 PM?
Yes,
That's
Very
right.
good.
7:45.
On April 22nd. Okay.
Great. Thank you for that. The next item on the agenda is the quarterly report by the Falmouth Police Department Chief Dunn. Welcome, Chief.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. For those that don't know me, Edward Dunn, Police Chief here in Falmouth. Talk about all the great things going on in the police department. To start with, I want to talk about the staffing levels. To date, we have 59 funded positions. Out of those 59 funded positions, it changes very rapidly. As of March 14th, it's sad to say, but we wish him the best, Officer Paul Whiting will be resigning. That is his last scheduled day to work. Paul is been offered a job with the environmental police, and he's going to be going with the environmental police, so we wish him the best. Also, on April 5th, Officer George Cabral, who has over 30 years with the Falmouth Police Department, will be retiring. George will be missed. And also at this time, we have one officer who's currently on military leave until sometime in October. I will have another officer going out in May on maternity leave. Currently, right now, I have 3 officers on what we consider light-duty status. That means they've been injured, but we brought them back at light-duty status to do light work. They're not in uniforms, and they're not doing, what you would consider law enforcement, other than some clerical work and things like that, greeting the public. I also have 4 officers out on line-of-duty injuries. 2 of those officers, Officer DeMiranda and Officer Moore, are from the July 27th shooting. I have Officer Layton and Officer Hazelton. They're out for some injuries that happened during arrests also. I'm pleased to announce our 2 new hires, Officer Dacey and Officer Soares, have completed their field training program, and they are patrolling the town of Falmouth on their own. So it's great to get them out and about, and they're a great addition. I'm also pleased to announce that we have given a conditional offer of hire to Christopher Elves as a new hire, and we're hoping to send Christopher to the pilot program out at Joint Base Cape Cod that was just approved by the Mass Municipal Training Council to hold the police academy out there in conjunction with the Cape Police Departments and the general out there. We're looking forward to that. So that should take effect sometime in July. We're hoping that all moves forward, and that's where Christopher will be in that pilot program.
Very exciting. Assembly of Delegates just approved it. Really great opportunity for folks on the Cape. saves a lot of money for departments in terms of travel and, you know, the housing that you might otherwise incur off Cape, so really great.
Absolutely. And that's one of our biggest challenges is there aren't enough police academies and getting new recruits into those academies. So as of today, right now we have 53 officers, but as you know, it's going to change rapidly here in the next few weeks. Also, I'm happy to announce tomorrow at 9 o'clock, the department will be having a swearing-in ceremony. And this is, you know, this is really exciting for the Falmouth Police Department. Right now, last May, or actually, let's back up a little bit. Last October, there was a promotional exam, and our officers took the promotional exam. And out of that promotional list, I was able to promote, because of the sergeants that were out line of duty, I was able to promote Jamie Donahue to an acting position last May. She's done a phenomenal job. And I am proud to announce that she will be appointed permanent sergeant tomorrow, which will be she'll be the first permanent female command officer in the Falmouth Police Department. So setting some history there. So that's tomorrow at the police station at 9 o'clock, and I know the board has been invited, and public is invited also if they want to stop by. Summer's around the corner. We had seasonal interviews today. So this year, again, I'm looking to hire at least 7 officers to put them in the same positions that they were: Main Street, Falmouth Heights, Woods Hole, Old Silver Beach, and of course, Goodwill Park. So there were some good candidates today, too. So we look forward to moving forward with that. Something else that we just started, we put it on our Facebook page, we put it on our web page, is a new program, registration of home security systems, cameras. In today's home security, everybody has cameras, it seems like, from businesses to homeowners. And what this program is, we're not tapping into your cameras. What it is we're asking that the public and business register their cameras with us. It's free. And it just lets us know the type of camera system they have, and it also asks some questions, whether or not they'd be willing to share any information should an incident occur in their neighborhood or near their business. That is a huge time saver for our officers when we're investigating a crime or a missing person, that we can go to a database and see where there are cameras located. And the only time they will be contacted should something happen within that particular area. So all people have to do is go to our website, thefalmouthpolice.com, and they can register. There's a few questions, the address and things like that. And we're not going to be selling their information or anything like that. It's our information, and it's just so that we can save some time. Because our detectives now and our officers do go door to door when an incident happens. It's just a way to save time. So there are other communities in the Commonwealth. I don't believe there's any other communities on the Cape that do it. So this is something that we're trying. And so far it's been successful. We've had quite a few people already register online. So we're hoping that more will happen over time.
Broadens Neighborhood Watch.
It's a great idea.
That's really what it is. It's just another tool, another way for the police department and the community to work together to keep everybody safe.
Thank you.
Detective status. Right now we've had 1 arson this year, 5 sexual assaults, 2 commercial B&Es, 7 residential B&Es, 26 larcenies, and 20 ID theft or frauds. Narcotics, we've had 3 undercover buys, 1 buy bust. We've seized $500 in cash, and we have 3 Superior Courts under indictment right now for drugs. The narcotics that we have purchased is heroin. It still seems to be a huge problem, which you'll see in the next thing. We'll talk about the overdoses that have occurred just since January. These numbers that I'm giving you are January to February this year. Overdoses so far this year, 27. Overdose deaths, 1. Narcan used by the police, 6. Police served 35 alcohol or drug committal sections through the courts. These were sought by members of the Falmouth Police Department, Falmouth Hospital or family members, to get their family, loved ones help. We're still doing these home visits. Our home visits, we've done 15. Out of the 15, the people who have accepted treatment is 0. However, we keep trying and we keep going back. When they're ready, we're there for them. Some of the people, the numbers don't match. Some of the people, they live out of town. and we haven't been able to locate them. But we do share that information with the other police departments if somebody is from out of town, if somebody is overdosed. The mental health issues. Between January and February, the department has gone to 41 calls of service related to mental health issues. Last year, in 2018, at this time, we had 36 calls for the same types of issues, so it's gone up. Through January and February, Mark Abbott from Falmouth Human Services and Officer Senior in Narbonne have made 18 home visits to individuals, and several of them are receiving services because of those visits. So we're going to continue to strive with that. And we're also, the department is continuing to certify all our officers in first aid mental health. I'm hoping by the end of the training this year through the in-service training, we will have 100% of the police department trained in mental health. We already have the partnership with Falmouth Human Services, so and we have a policy in place. So we're hoping the last step is to get some critical incident officers trained. We need 20% of the department to be trained. If that's the case, we would have met the One Mind program, which I took the pledge to do within 3 years. So we're right on track for that. Domestic violence. Very pleased that you had the proclamation tonight for the white ribbon. Domestic violence in progress, we've had 25. Domestic violence in the past, we've had 7. Domestic violence calls, domestic disturbance calls, 14 for a total of 46. Restraining orders, 45, and restraining order violations, 4. So we've been busy. In the calls for service, self-initiated, which I've talked before, those are the ones that the officers initiate on the street. We've had 1,789 compared to 1,682 last year. Dispatch calls for service, 1,730 compared to 1,733. We're up about 3.5% this year already. Past events. Also pleased to announce on March 4th, we graduated 15 Morse Pond students from our 5th Junior Police Academy at the Morse Pond School, and that is coordinated through by Sergeant James Cummings. Hosting the Junior Police Academy is a way for law enforcement to bridge that gap with our youth and law enforcement officers. It's well received by the school, and I believe somewhere in the vicinity to date, we've had 75 students go through the Junior Police Academy, and we're going to continue with that as we move forward in the future. Some other great things that have happened in the police department. Held on Tuesday, May 5th, we held our annual award and recognition ceremony, as well as swearing in. That's when Officer Dacey and Soares were formally sworn in as police officers. We gave out awards to numerous officers in the department for the community service and certificate of accommodation for great work being done. We also gave out a unit citation award for the Seacoast Shores officer-involved shooting incident. Officers that responded that night received the unit citation for the professionalism and the way they handled the investigation. And also, Officer D. Miranda and Moore were recognized as Officers of the Year for 2018, and they also both received the highest award given in the Falmouth Police Department, is the Medal of Honor. We were also able to share the day with Town Manager Julian Suso, Sue Moran, Sam Patterson. Thank you for being there, which at that point, the department was able to receive awards from the town of Falmouth for their being recognized as for years of service with the town. So that was greatly appreciated, and thank you. Thank you all for doing that. Upcoming events. We have the RAD, which is the Rape Aggression Defense System. We have Officer Elvira Ferreira. She's an instructor. We've offered this before. The Falmouth Police Department is offering this free self-defense course for women only. The class is based on Rape Aggression Defense System, otherwise known as RAD. The objective of the class is to give women valuable tools to escape an attacker should they find themselves in that situation. The 3-day program includes educational components comprised with lectures, discussion, physical strategies, all of which will facilitate a certificate from the RAD instructor. Class is open to women ages 13 and up. Anyone under the age of 18 must obtain permission from their parent or guardian. The dates are March 30th, 2019, which is Saturday, 9 to noon. April 6th, which is a Saturday, 9 to noon. April 13th, which is a Saturday, 9 to noon. Participants must attend all 3 sessions. So that fills up very quickly, and if anybody's interested in that, just contact the Police Department Officer Elvira Ferreira. So, Police Week. Police Week this year is May 12th through May 18th. It's our annual event, memorial, that honor officers who have fallen on the line of duty, as well as our own Falmouth police officer, Samuel Pierce. It's going to take place on this year on Friday, May 17th at 10 a.m. in front of the police department, at which time we'll be dedicating our new memorial wall with a ribbon cutting ceremony. Also this year, I will be heading to Washington, D.C. that week. That's why it's on a Friday. We normally hold it on a Wednesday, but I'll be in D.C. And the reason I'll be in D.C. Is for a couple reasons, 2 reasons. One, I'm going down as a representative of the Southeastern Mass Police Chiefs Association to represent them and support Chief Frank Frederickson of Yarmouth, as well as Chief Rick Grimes and all their officers, because Sergeant Chesna from Weymouth, and Sergeant Gannon from Yarmouth will be recognized this year down at Police Week. I'm also pleased to announce that Officer DeMiranda and Officer Moore, as well as 2 officers from Yarmouth, will also be heading down to Washington, D.C., as they're going to be recognized at the 26th Annual Top Cop Awards Dinner, which is held on Sunday, May 12th. And this is in conjunction to Police Week. Top Cop Award, their names were submitted by an organization, the National Police Officers Association, for the awards. Normally, the Top Cop Award is given to 1 incident per state. If you go to their website, you can see it. It's been going on for many years. But they only recognize 1 incident. Yarmouth, the incident with Sergeant Gannon, and the incident here in Falmouth were submitted, I'm sure with others. And it was the decision of the committee that both Yarmouth and Falmouth this year would receive Top Cop Awards. So all their expenses are paid for the organization, and their family will be flown down to Washington, D.C. So that's the other reason I'll be in Washington, D.C. So that concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
That's just incredible recognition. All the Falmouth community has just come out this year, especially in support. And as a head of the department, we just really appreciate all the details and the way the force is supported. Thank you for that, Doug.
2 questions. One probably for a future report, and the second one I hope you can answer tonight. If you could come back and let us know how things went with the boathouse after previous.
I can answer that real quick. We had really no issues last year. We ran very well.
Great. So the second one is one I was actually expecting you could answer, would be about the Alice training. I've heard great things about what the police force has been doing with the schools in Alice training, and just if you could give us a little bit of a heads up on that also.
Yeah, as you know, we've been doing lockdowns in the Falmouth school system for many years. And this year, we are transitioning into it's a lockdown procedure, but there's also, it's a new program called Alice. It's not new, it's been around, but Falmouth is finally adopting it. Pretty sure just about all the staff, might be a few missing because they're doing some makeups, has been trained in the Alice training. And the safety team with the school, which encompasses the police department, are reviewing how to move it to the next step. The next step would be what school classes will be participating in what Alice is about. What Alice is it's a program where you alert, you can lock down, you can escape, you can fight. It's to protect yourself. It's a national known program, and we've come a long ways this year. We have 3 Alice instructors in the police department, and we also have, I believe there's some staff now that the superintendent has sent to become instructors too. So there's quite a few instructors between the school and us. And the program is moving along very well. I believe it's being well received by the school and the staff.
Great, thank you so much.
Great. More questions?
That sounds good.
The other, I just wanted to mention, at the joint meeting with the Selectmen and the school committee, the superintendent mentioned a lot of positive feedback with respect to the trailer.
Hidden in plain sight.
Yeah.
Almost forgot.
Yep.
That's almost done. It is, and again, what Hidden in Plain Sight is it's an education, it's an interactive education program. And it's for adults. It's not for your students, it's for the adults. We've done a couple of programs. 2 years ago, we did it at the Seacrest, where we had a couple of mock bedrooms. Last year, we did it at the high school, where we had a mock bedroom. After that, it just seemed like we were missing a large group of people, because I did hear from people afterwards who said, geez, I really would like to have gone to that, but I had a soccer game, or I had a baseball game. So we'll take it to the next level. We're going to take it on the road. What I've done is purchased a 22-foot enclosed trailer, and that was purchased with no cost to the town, by the way. It was purchased with seized drug profits. So we put that money to good use.
Direct.
And then reached out to some business partners, such as Walmart, Granite City Electric, Carpet Barn, Falmouth Lumber, Napa. I'm sure I'm going to miss somebody, but we're going to roll this out very soon. But a lot of partners who came in and donated a lot of items. The items were then sent to the Sheriff's Department, and the Sheriff's Department had the trailer up there for a couple of months and has built a bedroom that looks like a teenager's bedroom inside this trailer. Right now, we're in the process of getting it lettered through Locust Street Signs, and we're hoping, that's the last piece. Once that's done, we will roll it out, and what I would like to do one evening is maybe even bring it to a selectmen's meeting early and give the selectmen a tour, as well as maybe have FCTV. But we are going to have a public event rolling it out because of all the great, again, couldn't do it without the partners here in town. This community is so great when you ask for help on something that's positive. And this will be an educational tool that we will take to school open houses. We'll take it to the soccer games. We'll take it to the baseball games. We'll bring it to the street fair, wherever. Wherever there's a group of people, we'll bring it if we can educate the public.
Fantastic. That's a great one. Doug?
Yeah, the biggest concern, along with the drugs, is the smoking of the
Vaping?
Vaping, yeah.
Yes, that's going to be part of the whole piece. It's going to be a multitask educational tool.
Mhm.
We've got flat screen TVs in there which will have educational pieces. We're going to have literature in there. I'm working with Susie Hoffman. We're going to train her people. So it may not always be a police officer in there, but it's some of her staff who can help educate. And that's one of the pieces. If you're trained in the Hidden in Plain Sight, you can do it. So
Great
That's
partnering.
Good
Thank you
idea.
very much. Really great report.
thank you.
Appreciate it. The next item on the agenda is the status update on multiple public works initiatives from Peter McConaty, Deputy Public Works Director. Mr. McConaty, welcome.
Thank you. Peter McConaty, Deputy Director of Public Works. Wanted to give you a brief overview of a lot of the projects that we're working on in Public Works. Most of them are roadway projects, and they've been questions that have been asked recently. I think I know that the Route 28 project, Main Street Route 28 project, has basically taken a lot of the focus for the roadway projects that we're working on, but there's a lot of other stuff that's going on. What I would like to start with is Mara Vista Ave. We are in the process right now of planning the installation of a new sidewalk on Mara Vista Ave from Minot Beach all the way up to the intersection with Route 28. As everyone knows, the sidewalk, basically, there wasn't much of a sidewalk there in the past, but what sidewalk was there and what curbing was there was removed when they did the sewer project 2 years ago. And we came, and the public came and wanted that sidewalk replaced. So we're working on it right now. The funding is in place. It's designed. It's ready to go. What we're looking at doing is putting in a wider sidewalk in that area. The Mara Vista Ave is a 50-foot layout, so there is room to do some more work. And so when we get up towards Route 28, we're just gonna wanna be real careful with the, how it blends in with the new design. We're gonna be working with the traffic engineers to make sure everything blends in. Also with that, our highway superintendent and the highway department will be replacing all the flashing lights for the schools. T-Ticket has 2 flashing lights. We're gonna be moving them down to the school zones where they're supposed to be, the proper zones. Also Jones Road, the Morse Pond School, those lights, anyone seen those lights lately? We've been really piecing them together with duct tape and gum, basically what it is. They are old lights, and we're going to put another set of lights at the high school and another set of lights up at the North Falmouth Elementary School. So 4 sets of lights, they'll all be solar lights, so there'll be no electricity. We're trying to get away from the power, pulling up sidewalks and connecting into the power with meters, so we're trying to get away from that extra cost. For roadways, before I get into that, I also have tonight here with us is Jim Grady, our highway superintendent, if there's any specific questions on roadways, and Jeremiah Pearson, our park superintendent. I believe he wants to give a quick update on some trees in town. For roadways, Route 151, Sam Turner Road and Boxbury Hill. About a year and a half ago, we did a road safety audit in that roadway, and that's the first piece that has to be done when you do any types of roads, any types of corridor studies, is a roadway audit. So members from DOT, Mass DOT were there, myself, police chief, fire chief, I believe the town manager was there, and others, and you walk the site and you look for deficiencies and see what deficiencies are out there. So that took place, a final it's called an RSA, a road safety audit, was completed and was delivered last month. So we're moving forward from that now. I think everyone knows that our worst intersection in town for safety-wise is the Boxbury Hill and Sam Turner. We did have the fatality up there. So that's going to be one of our primary concerns. The town engineer and myself have already spoken with our traffic consultants on putting together a design and putting together a survey for that, so they can go up and get an existing conditions survey, and then we could start moving from there with proposals. And I think the worst congested intersection in town is the Coonamessett at the Jones Road, Gifford Street. So working with our transportation engineer, we're asking for a proposal to do a survey right now and some concepts of what can be done. It's a tight area, there's trees on all sides of the road, but it's congested, and the traffic signals are very antiquated. There's just no room to do it's the same directional volume, east-west, as north and south, so there's nothing really you can do with the timing on the lights. So we're looking at having a full design on that intersection. I'd like to see, project-wise, I'd like to see the Sam Turner go first, and then possibly the Coonamessett a couple of years down the road, and then the Sandwich Road and 151, that's also in the works right now. We have a plan complete for that. It's a modest upgrade. It's not going to be a full rebuild of the intersection, but it's left turns. If you're coming from West Falmouth going towards Mashpee, there'll be a left turn lane. Anyone that pulls down Sandwich Road going north, if there's vehicles coming east in that turn lane, you can't see. So what we're looking at doing is swinging a lane over, and you'll have 2 lanes across from each other with directional signals, so they'll be able to do a left turn lane at the same time. Pedestrian actuation, and we're looking at our highway department putting in since we're going to be up there doing some modest improvements. They just rebuilt the corner up there with new Dunkin' Donuts, the Falmouth Animal Hospital's going on up there. We want to put a small section of sidewalk from the intersection down to at least the first driveway to the gas station and to the Dunkin' Donuts, so people can, at least if they wanted to walk, they could walk down and go get a cup of coffee and go back up towards Ashumet Valley. Another intersection in town is Brick Kiln and Sandwich Road. That is a roadway we'd like to do. Right now, it's kind of like in the back burner for us right now. It is one that we want to get done, but I think the other intersections are more pressing to get done. But that jams up in the evening time when you're coming off the highway and going towards East Falmouth. And basically what we're looking at doing is, in years past, we had a traffic signal that was a traffic mast arm that was right in the middle of that concrete island. And every time someone would come up from Sandwich Road and take a left onto Brick Kiln Road, well, not every time, but frequently, the tractor-trailer trucks, they couldn't swing it, and they were taking our lights out, and we kept on replacing them. So 2 years ago, we moved the light at least to the opposite side of the street, so that's out of the island. But next, we want to take the island, and we'd like to put in a left turn lane there. So that would, I think that would free up a lot of traffic concerns, and also put pedestrian actuation in that whole signalized intersection. There is a sidewalk that comes from Route 28 up to Sandwich Road. There is no sidewalk that goes from Sandwich Road up to 151. Before my career is out, I would love to have a sidewalk and granite curbing put on Sandwich Road. Anyone that drives Sandwich Road in the early mornings or in the afternoons,
Really crazy.
it's heavily used. There's a lot of people, there's bikes that are on it, there's pedestrians that are on it, and there's nowhere for them to be except for in the roadway. There is enough width, there's some wide lanes there. We'd have to do some modifications and put an extra width in there for the sidewalk, but it can be done. And that'll be something as we go into the future, maybe the 5-6 year plan, but that for connectivity, to get up to the churches, to the fields, and to the Sandwich Road fields, to be able to put that in. So those are the main projects that are going on, basically for the intersections and the roadways. Some of the other projects that we're working on.
I have two roadway questions, if we want to stick on roadways for a second.
Absolutely, yeah.
Can you give us an update on what the state's going to do about 151 and 28A?
151 and 28A. Originally, the state, and I believe everyone knows, the state had come back to the town 3 times for looking at signalized intersection and a roundabout. And the town 3 times basically said, we want to keep it a signalized intersection, and we didn't want to put in a roundabout in that area. And so the state went back 3 times, but they kept on pushing and pushing. In the last couple of months at the Cape Cod Commission Transportation Committee meetings that we have of the JTC, the state pulled that project. So they're the ones that initiated because of a crash pattern. There's so many crashes happen, so the feds have to do something with that intersection. And in the last 3-4 months, they actually pulled that project. So right now,
Status quo.
right now, there's nothing going on. Eventually, they'll probably have to do something because of the crash patterns, but it's been pulled, yeah.
And what's the prognosis on the Goodwill Park intersect or crossing?
Yeah, so the Goodwill Park intersection, so we've been to the state, we reviewed it with the state twice. The state DOT has come down and they moved the speed limit signs. So it's back in our court for doing the design. We have a design for that intersection. With reviewing of that design, we have the rapid flashing beacons over at Locust Street at the bike path. In that area, that would not work so well. So what they have is another package out there. The state does not allow mid-block crosswalks anymore as far as stoplights. They just don't allow them anymore. So there's this system out there, it's called the Hawk system, and it's basically a mast arm that goes over the roadway, and the lights are black all the time unless someone actuates it. If someone goes up and pushes the button and actuates it, it acts like a traffic signal, and it'll turn yellow and it will turn red for all traffic to stop, and then for the pedestrians across the street, and then it goes black to black again. State law, if you have an intersection and the light in the intersection is out and there's no power in the intersection, the state law actually says vehicles are supposed to stop at all intersections no matter what. It becomes a stop sign. Most people don't do that. And I think that's why the state, for confusion-wise, they don't want to put, they're not crazy about putting these Hawk systems, and they just really haven't been tested and trued on the state roadways, but they are being placed on other roadways. So that's what we'll be looking at. They're more expensive, they need timing, and they need sequencing, but it'll be more effective in that area. Those vehicles come around that corner from the double barrel highway moving fast, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're working on that. It's in our court, we just need to go back to the state. Once we get their approval, then we'll start working on this lighting crosswalk hawk system.
How many residences are close to that, where the light might be installed?
There's no residences on the east side, that's the park. On the west side, there's a office building coming right off of that chute coming from the bike path. and
Is that
then
where you think you would put it, or would you put it further down, right?
We would like to put it directly in line with that, basically that spur that comes off of the bike path, but there's just not enough sight distance coming off the highway, so we have to shift it south 150, 200 feet, which is gonna put it down into the residences. Most people, what happens is when people come to it, they're gonna take the path of least resistance. They're gonna go across the street right there. But it's just, it doesn't work in that area for sight distance-wise, so we're gonna have to move it down. So when pedestrians go to that intersection, they're gonna have to walk down Palmer Ave to get to that light and then cross in that area.
But
So-
I was curious about the glare for the neighbors too, because that's what I anticipated, that it was gonna have to be more toward the residences. So they're gonna have all of a sudden, a big light right in where
Only
they're.
when people push it though, right?
Well, the lights won't be facing, but the lights won't be facing the residences, the lights will be facing the street. And it's only actuated, it doesn't flash, it only actuates when someone pushes the button.
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah. In the summertime, it'll probably be pretty busy. You look at the steamship traffic coming,
But I like
back
the
and
idea of
forth
them
from
having to push it, because what happens at Locust Street is that people just feel they have the right of way, cyclists a lot of times, and
They just go.
Yeah.
and, particularly because a lot of people who travel that roadway, even up by, the area we're talking about, are visitors.
Right.
And so, they're not necessarily looking out, and they're trying to make ferries, and so, my office is right there, and I mean, I can't tell you the number of times you hear like screeching of car tires. So I like the idea of making, cyclists have to
hit the light.
hit the light.
But human behavior being what it is, they're gonna wanna just cross. But the light's up there. It sounds like we're making a problem where we really didn't have one even. I mean, it's almost like we're installing this expensive light away from the path of least resistance. Maybe we should at least also consider a sign. Bicyclists, do not cross here. You must go up there, across, and then back.
Right.
I think the only thing that will help us there is that it's so hard to cross, without, I mean, you basically, there's just so much traffic volume that you're like just dart across, when there's some gap. So I think if cyclists believe that they're gonna be able to cross, I think that they'll use it, because it's just so hard to cross otherwise.
I also worry if you don't have that corner for the bicyclists, they're gonna come from the bike path, they believe that they have the right of way and just zoom right across from the bike path onto a sidewalk in
Yeah.
a way they do near your office.
So with that design, on the east side of the roadway, we also have to put in a sidewalk on the east side of the roadway to bring it from the crosswalk into the park. And in that area, in the park, the slope coming down from the park goes right down to the edge of the road. So we'll have to be doing some excavation there to move that out. So it's a moving target for it right now. We're trying to push it as close as we can to that area, as close as we can to that spur. But by the looks of it right now with the design, it's not gonna fit exactly in that spot.
A tough problem.
So what happens is, so the state has approved it preliminary with its location. We finalize the drawing, we send it to them, and then they approve it, and then it comes back to us, and then we start looking at that lighting part of it. And then they send it to Boston, and it comes back. So there's a lot of back and forth, but I think what will happen is we'll probably end up going back up to the DOT again and meet with them again to go over the plan. You want to meet with them face on face, since that you don't want to be doing emails and telephone calls. When you can sit down with them and go right through the plan, it's a lot easier.
Absolutely.
So schedule an appointment for that, so.
Doug?
The light at Stop and Shop, Jones Road corner, seems like the traffic on the 28 is backed up quite a lot. Is there any chance of adjusting that timing or looking into whether or not it's accurately?
Coming from the east, going towards town?
Yeah, well, both ways really, but
Both ways?
more towards town. Just had people comment that it seems like that light changes awfully fast on that side, so.
What we can do is, what we do is, it's a state jurisdictional light, so what we can do is we can send an email off to the state and ask their traffic department to come down and review the timing on it. Personally, I don't know what the timing is right now on it, so they can come down, they can look at it. Sometimes just a few seconds on that green makes a big difference. You know, 2 or 3 seconds on a green makes a big difference. So.
And that corner of Shore Street, that crosswalk that's been a concern for a while, I know we talked about last year maybe making a sidewalk over to the beach entrance.
Yep.
How long away do you think that might be?
So, with that project, the design, the concept and the preliminary design is done. And we do have funding for it, but we have to go through the Conservation Commission because we're in their jurisdiction. It's basically in their dunes, across the street. So we have to finalize the plan, and then we have to go to the conservation for it. And right now, the town engineer, I spoke with him today, the town engineer is just finalizing the grading on that. I believe it's Mariners Lane, I think is the lane that's right across basically from the parking lot. Every time we get a rainstorm, it floods out, and we're always down there pumping it out. So basically, the basins are dead in there, correct? The basins are dead in there, so we're gonna have to go in and rebuild the basins, and we're gonna try to do a surface grading to shift the water into different areas so we can alleviate that. But we're looking at connecting Shore Street with Walker Street with the sidewalk. Most likely, maybe the end of this year, possibly in the spring of next year, so.
So now, some neighbors in the area have been concerned about that corner. And were you at the Traffic Advisory Committee when they were talking about that corner and people were asking for stop signs?
Maybe. I don't know. I've been at so many meetings, I don't know. I could convince myself I was, probably.
That's a firm commitment.
I'm wondering if maybe you might be able to just put temporary stop signs until we can get to the big project? Is that possible?
Yeah, that's something that can be looked at, go through the traffic advisory and can be looked at. Typically with stop signs, you don't put temporary stop signs in, it's usually permanent stop signs. This is gonna, I would say that it'll be a year anyways before we get the permitting in place to be able to complete that sidewalk. So I think that's just something
You
that.
spoke with the Old Stone Dock Association?
I have. Yeah, I have. I've been speaking with them the last couple of years about the project. Keep on telling them, it's coming, and they keep on asking. But the corner of that area, the corner of Shore Street and Surf Drive is so sharp is because the last corner property, that property's not on a radius with the roadway, it's a direct 90 degrees. So we're gonna have to get an easement from that property owner, and we've spoke with him, he'll give us an easement, we just have to get the paperwork done once we finalize exactly where that sidewalk's going.
At least it makes them slow down a little bit. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's so sharp.
Yeah, and we'll be cutting into the, we're gonna be looking at cutting into that dune, and so improving the sight distance going on the corner, so.
I thought when the Traffic Advisory Committee looked at that, they were not in favor of the stop sign. It'd be expensive, I'd rather have an activated hawk system there, thing. If you're wanting to cross there, get a stoplight, but to have a stop sign there 90% of the time when no one's walking, doesn't make sense as a place for a stop sign.
Yeah. The plan is to actually, once we get the sidewalk in and get it wrapped around that horseshoe from Shore to Walker, to take that whole sidewalk and shift it down more into the center, so that sidewalk it just won't be there anymore.
Crosswalk will be gone.
Crosswalk will be down towards the bathhouse.
Which is much better.
Yeah.
That
It's
makes
much
more
better.
sense.
There is area on the opposite side of the street, but the radius-wise, it's just it's gonna be a tight radius. So we did replace we did put an LED Cobra headlight on opposite corner, because that was a light, it was a light that really wasn't doing much bringing any light down to the street. So we did replace that with an LED, and it seemed to help it out at nighttime. But in the summertime, that does get busy in that area.
How far away do you think we are from resolving some kind of a new design at the Boxbury Hill 151 corner?
Sam Turner, 151
Yeah.
Bloxbury Hill. So we're waiting for a proposal right now. We had spoken with our traffic engineers, and we're waiting for a proposal right now. Everything, we do the design, but the state doesn't have control over it, but the state, we have a license with the state that they review our work. And it could be a simple review. Our transportation company uses basically and does the same design that the state does, but it'll go through the state.
Year?
It would probably take a year for permitting plans, see what we need for right-of-way, and then it could be 2 years.
Okay.
It could be possibly 2 years. But once again, it's a state intersection, but what I would like to do is follow the DOT rules as far as the public announcements, the public meetings, and show,
Yeah.
because everyone drives that intersection. It's a dangerous intersection, so.
Very dangerous. Lots of kids around that area, lots of school buses that are trying to turn onto either one of those roads, or coming off, or going into Ballymead, and that whole little area there is crazy.
So tricky because people come in with the directionals, but you don't know which street they're turning on.
Yeah, never, I live off
Turner
that
or
road. I
Boxbury
just
Hill.
don't put it on until I'm really turning onto Boxbury, because
Right.
otherwise people just pull out in front of you, so. yeah,
And in the plan, what we're looking at doing is an elongated roundabout, so there was different concepts of isolating Boxbury Hill. What we're looking at is a plan to include, it'll be elongated roundabout that will include all that intersection, Boxbury, Sam Turner, Cloverfield, 151, and there's also a chute that goes off to the DOT property there. Hunters use it in the fall. So it'll include that whole thing, and along with that comes new signage, new street lights, so it's something,
Yeah, but
and it'll slow the traffic down in that area.
Right.
I'm sure the chief clocks people over there, I'm sure they're doing 60+ in that area, they have to be, so.
Yeah.
They sure seemed it when we were doing the RSA. One of the other questions was Great Bay Street. So in 2012, 2013, 2014, we closed approximately 7 sections of roadway. And then last year, we closed another 4 or 5 sections of roadway. So right now on Great Bay Street, every section of roadway between two intersecting streets is closed unless you have a house with a driveway and on that street. So I believe there might be 5 driveways, so there might be 4 or 5 sections of roadway that's still open. But all the other sections are closed, and it was because of the complaint that they were getting lumber trucks and fuel trucks and UPS trucks and FedEx trucks going down the roadway, so we closed it. So it's basically just a walking path right now. At this time, our town council is looking into the roadway as far as where the roadway is. The roadway was deeded to the town, so the town council is looking into the legalities of the roadway. Is it actually a roadway? It was a piece of land that was given to the town, so he's looking into the legalities of that. During last March, we had all those storms that came through. We lost a couple of the sets of stairs. There's 9 sets of stairs that are along that section of basically the beach where the bluff is. And we lost 2 sections of them. We went out there with the conservation agent, and the 2 sections were within 150 feet of each other. So what they said is rebuild one, leave the other one. So right now, we're in the midst of, we have a set of stairs designed. It has to go through conservation, and then we have to get a building permit for it. But my understanding is all those stairs were built back in the 70s and 80s, not by the town, but they were by residents of the town or the association. So all sets of those stairs are all in varying states of disrepair. So, well, a couple of them are destroyed, and we're looking at least replacing one of the sets.
And what will you do, just drive pressure-treated posts in the ground, no concrete?
Yeah. At the end of Reynolds in Toledo, So, over the past 3 or 4 years, some of the private owners that live across the street, actually probably 4 of them now, have come to the town and got licenses to repair the bluff and the bank. And this last one, they repaired the bank, but they also built a whole new, brand new set of stairs. And it looks really nice. If you haven't seen it, that's something that we'd like to duplicate, to bring out there, all pressure treated onto the slope. You know, I think what it is just being able to do the work on the beach, getting the machines on the beach to be able to dig the holes and do the work on the beach for the slabs.
You
for
don't
the
need
landings.
machines.
Yeah.
Post holes.
Yeah.
Doug's volunteering.
Jim's guys loves that.
Oh, boy, you brave. Any other questions? Anything else, Peter?
No, I said, so like I say, there's some exciting things going on with the transportation. We know the areas in town that are tight spots and congestion spots. We're working on them, compiling them right now, so.
Huge amount of work, very
Yeah.
comprehensive
Yeah.
planning.
Madam Chair?
Please.
There is an item regarding a tree in Highfield Hall that would be helpful to update with Peter's concurrence and Jeremiah's as well.
Welcome, Jeremiah.
Hello, Jeremiah Pearson, Park Superintendent and Tree Ward. There's 2 trees at Highfield Hall. The landscape director, Terry Soares, notified me about that are dying. One actually is dead, and we actually had to remove last week after those heavy winds we had. And the other is another one right in front of the mansion there. They're historic, they're 135 years old. For the past 10 years, Highfield Hall has been paying a subcontractor to go out there and deep root fertilize, prune, do everything they can to keep them alive. But now it's come to the point where they're just a liability.
Are they beaches or?
Yes,
what?
they're both European beaches, and they believe they were both planted by Jeremiah Beebe, original plantings.
Wow.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So what responsibility is the town for the trees on that property?
The town owns the property.
I know that. I mean, there are lots of properties that we own, that we lease out to other organizations, and they take responsibility for the,
They asked just because they've put in so much work into them, and that it's just such a burden of cost.
So they've been paying to maintain?
They've been paying to maintain annually.
Okay.
for
A lot of
pruning.
trees or just those?
A couple trees, yeah, some of the historic trees there, yeah.
because there's a lot of other tree work that that property needs, that I just worry if we're setting the precedent, we're taking those 2 trees, there are about 10 other beech trees that are gonna need some work soon also. Is that something that we are now taking on as our burden?
No, not exactly. In the past, actually, they've hosted several Arbor Days, and they probably will continue to do that. So we only come in is when they pretty much have to be removed. And if there was a lot of trees to be removed, I'm sure I couldn't take it all on, and they would have to come up with the cost for the assistance.
Great.
So yeah, just to supplement, we would want to be very cautious. I certainly concur in what we go in and do as a property owner and with a tree that potentially could endanger the structure. I think it makes sense for us to be proactive,
Yeah.
particularly with Jeremiah's recommendation.
Right, and it's so busy there now, especially in the summer, and they have those events.
Mhm.
You know, those
Yeah,
trees are,
Your window is probably gonna be pretty small to be able to do it as
Yeah.
well.
It's really sad to have that tree go. It's gonna
yeah.
change the look of it up there
And
completely.
you know what I'd like to do is I talked to Terry Soares about keeping the trunk, the one in the front, and have an artist or somebody do something with it, because it's so big and gnarly. You know, they have so many cool artistic things going on up there that maybe find somebody to do something with it.
A few too many engravings of it, initials in it also, but.
Yeah.
So,
Doug?
since they're saving a lot of money on trees from us doing this, maybe they could gather up some money and plant a new tree?
Yes, I could work with that with Terry. I know that they wouldn't want to replant where that tree is in the front, because there's so many utilities or something under there, there was an issue. But definitely, we could put other trees in certainly other places.
Right.
And-
At Highfield Hall or even other places in town.
Well, I'd like it somewhere near that same area, on
main
that property. Yeah.
Work
I'm
on
just
that.
gonna say, I hope that you sort of continue that conversation about what else might be able to be done with that, because I have seen other examples of some interesting sort of reworking
artwork,
of.
yeah, yeah.
So, maybe there's some way that, because otherwise, I mean, it's just gonna, I can't even imagine even having to get rid of that entire trunk. That would be
Yeah, it's
pretty-
actually, works both ways, because it's gonna be so hard. I don't even think I have a chainsaw big enough to cut it.
Cut through there, yeah,
And
that's
it
incredible.
does have some pretty cool gnarly, like, flares and stuff on it, so I'm sure somebody could do something.
I'm sure there's some
artistic
artists
with it.
looking and watching us tonight that'll come up
Yeah.
with something.
Yeah.
That's great, thank
It's a
you.
great creative idea.
And I saw you start to take down the tree at, how much longer for the tree at Mullen Hall? I know you guys made
We
some
cut it,
significant
I was
progress.
gonna have a wood carver do a shark on that for the Mullen Hall Makos,
Oh, that's so
but
cool.
he declined, so. It was a good idea, and for some reason he backed out on it, so now I'm just gonna remove the rest of that trunk, and then we're gonna replant
Okay,
there in the spring.
great, thank you.
Good idea, too.
Would
Wow.
have been a nice,
Yeah,
great,
great
great
idea.
idea, yeah.
Well,
No one
thank
wants
you
to-
for
Thanks,
your
Jeremiah.
work.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
you
much.
coming and
Thank you.
explaining everything. Next item on the agenda is a vote to approve a request for a waiver of special event permit fee. Welcome, this is Arts Alive Festival and Jazz Stroll Jazztober.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Lee Geisiger with Arts Falmouth. I am representing the Board of Directors, and we respectfully request the Board of Selectmen to waive the permit fees for our two events. As you know, Arts Falmouth is a nonprofit organization. Neither Arts Alive nor the Jazz Stroll, as part of Jazztober, are profit-making ventures. In fact, it cost in 2018 over $16,000 for us to run those events. That is, those costs are offset by donations, sponsorship, and grants that we work very hard throughout the year to gain from businesses, from state agencies, and from individuals. So waiving the fee would make that task a little bit more manageable, offset the costs. In 2018, we literally came, I think it was $60 from zero
Tuesday?
bottom line.
Wow.
So that's pretty good considering all the activity. These are two of our three events for the year. These are the flagship events from Main Street. We do both events in conjunction with the Village Association, but again, waiving the fees would be a tremendous help to our efforts.
Are there any questions? Does anyone feel ready to make a motion?
Yes, I would move that we waive the fees for these two events. It provides such a nice event for everybody that's wandering through the downtown of Falmouth.
Second?
So we're talking about the permit fees, not the food permit fees, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
So there's a motion and a second. Doug, did you have a question?
Just that one?
Okey-dokey. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks for all your work on this.
Thank you, and I will see you in June and October.
Thanks, Lou.
Absolutely. The next item on the agenda are minutes of meetings. We have the public session meetings, February 11, 2019.
Is the Feast of Falmouth?
We've
We
already
did
done
it.
Oh.
We did the
With-
signs.
when
Oh, that's right, that was
Tracy
moved
was
it up
still up there.
forward.
Yeah.
Yep. I was very efficient today. Sam?
Yes, on page one, under number 4, announcements, if you look on the third line, it should be Tom Care, C-A-H-I-R. I think we should make sure we have the correct spelling of the director, the CCRTA.
Yep.
Let's see, I have another on page 7. Authorize, number 2, authorized permitting application for, this should be Minot Beach stabilization. Get the correct spelling there. And the last is on page 10. And I don't think the line does justice to what I actually said. So this is under, just above 4, where it says SP believes. And I think you should put Mr. Patterson believes that it is naive to believe this change will generate any resonance at all. So those would be my recommendations.
Could you say that again?
Sure. Mr. Patterson
Where is it?
believes, this is on page 10, excuse me, page 10, just above 4, presentation of petition articles,
Oh, yeah.
where it says SP now, so put Mr. Patterson believes that it is naive to believe this change will generate any resonance at all.
Any residents at all?
Resonance.
Resonance.
As
You
in
had the word
the-
resonance
She couldn't
already.
hear, so-
And I guess I would put a change of representative. Because the change is going back 3 paragraphs to what change you were talking about.
I'm sorry, I'm missing a point. What are you saying?
Just that Mr. President believes that it's naive to think the change of representative will have any
Oh,
resonance
sure,
at all.
sure.
Yeah, that's a good,
You got that?
For clarity,
So with those changes, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes and release to the public.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, with respect to February 25th,
Those are not prepared yet?
Are those
not prepared yet. We have executive session on December 11, 2017.
Yes, I believe we can release these, so I would move that we approve and release these for public access. Let's see, starting with one.
The only problem is on our agenda, it's listed as the wrong date.
Right, so let's redo that.
Okay.
Because the actual minutes are December 11th, 2018.
Right.
Oh, good call.
And the next is whether to vote to release or not to release minutes of executive session on November 20, 2017.
I move that we release the minutes of November 20th, 2017. We've already approved them, so we're just voting
Yeah,
to
right,
release
that's
them.
true. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And whether to release or not release the minutes for December 4, 2017.
And I move that we vote to release the minutes of December 4th, 2017.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And Mr. Suso, you'll have, keep on the agenda the executive session of that date corrected?
Yes,
Great?
for December 11th, 2018. We'll get that.
Yeah, that'll be the change date.
Yep.
Next, we have individual selectmen's reports. Doug?
we went to the Seacrest for the Mass Municipal meeting. That was very informative with all the representatives there to tell us what's happening in the House of Representatives and the Senate. Also, this week, I didn't write these things down, but,
Went to the Route 28.
oh, right, that was very good.
Yesterday.
Presentation by the Route 28 Committee. They had a good, I think they've come with a good plan. It looks like something to me that might stay just as it is and be approved, I hope.
And I too was
Great.
there, and I felt the same way. It seemed like people were buying in, and so,
People
and it was well done.
Yeah,
Really, very
well
good
done.
presentation, and the presentation was managed.
And they went
very
right through property by property and answered anyone's questions that was there. And it seems like everyone who asked a question was pleasantly surprised with the answer, so I think it's really well done.
This is a concept at this point, I was there also. So it's not an approval or anything like that, but it was just, it's where they are, and their proposal has to go through the state and what have you. But the one thing that they pretty much have done is keep the roadway right where it is right now. And they would just basically deal with the multimodal paths on both the south side and the north side.
And they point out that they're gonna be moving 48 telephone poles,
Right.
so that's gonna have a cost that makes that underground buried utilities maybe a little bit more valuable.
attractable. I might say that, at this point, they're gonna use 8-foot paths on either side of the roadway, but they're gonna be places where they neck them down to 6 feet because of trees that they wanna preserve, or to respect people's property where they're coming right up against the property, or there's a sign for a business or that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
they have kind of gone with 8-foot, but narrowing it down to 6 feet in certain areas where there are things that need to be protected or respected, I guess is perhaps the right way to say it.
And they did such a great job, maybe we should let them look at the rest of the stretch and make comments on the other.
Well, I mean, and
I
that's
agree.
what, it's what Peter McConaty was saying
About-
that they
yeah.
do. And it's just nice to invite the public in to see them do it in terms of the town engineers, and so everyone has a confidence level and no surprises.
I got a sense from the chairman that the group is willing to carry on if we let them, and do a little more work.
Great volunteers.
Yeah.
Megan?
Well, wait a minute.
Oh, sorry.
Let me throw a couple
Yeah.
more in.
Yep.
Just want to throw a kudo out to the Falmouth Education Foundation Gala. We've already mentioned it, but tremendous amount of money was raised, and the people that step up and contribute this in a purely philanthropic way for the sake of the education program in our public schools was a really good thing. I also attended the West Falmouth Village Association meeting where Dylan Fernandez basically fielded questions and updated people on where things are up on Beacon Hill. That's it.
I forgot I was there too.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I asked them to get some relief for dredging projects, change the window of opportunity for doing the dredging.
Here.
And to make sure that we get some new thinking with regard to nourishment projects, because you can't use public funds to do nourishment on a private property.
Right.
But I think we need some new legislation that will allow for a betterment of a nourishment project, the way you do a betterment for a road. So,
Great idea.
initial thoughts for him to
And
consider.
on that item, the county is moving towards another dredge as well, so there should be
Excellent.
a conflagration of events that create a better situation.
That would be good.
Such a narrow window when they can do it, that anything happens, one of them breaks down, you're done for a year.
Right.
San gave him an education on education funding.
I remember that. It was a good
Well,
meeting.
that was the joint meeting, but I also reminded our representatives of where we stand, that basically the governor's proposed budget, gives on one hand, but takes more away from us, so that we end up, according to our staff, with a $100,000 drop in revenues during FY '20 compared to this fiscal year. Not exactly a nice thing. But
not.
we were assured by our representatives that, that's just gonna get pushed aside, so we'll see, but worth tracking.
Yes, Megan?
You good?
Yeah.
We had the same legislative update at the Democratic Town Committee the week before. And one of the points that I raised with Representative Fernandez that night was just that we really do need to have some kind of additional, or, it's not just about throwing money at it, but some real innovative thinking around the issue of addiction and the opioid epidemic, and that our court system in particular is just absolutely inundated and completely swamped with responding to it. And something I think it might be helpful for an updated or an agenda item in the future is to have the presiding justice from the district court, Judge Welsh, come and give us an update on what the drug court is going, because he's starting a drug court. Falmouth has never had a drug court before. Barnstable does. Judge Welsh ran a drug court in Fall River. And so the public can kind of understand what that means, and how that, may or may not impact, what happens at that court, and just some of the data behind the efficacy of drug courts, and how they operate. But, we did just highlight that Falmouth is situated in a very particular way, that because of all of our treatment facilities, people come here, and when they aren't able to succeed that first or second or however many times at sobriety, they're then part of this community, and we are expending an enormous amount of resources responding. We heard from Chief Dunn tonight, and if we had a update from the fire department, we would hear, similar numbers about just responding to this, and that, we're not really, whatever we're doing isn't really tackling the problem. So at any rate, we did raise that issue for whatever it's worth with our representative, and I think we just need to, kind of keep pushing on that. But I do think it would be helpful to have an agenda item to have Judge Welsh come in and just explain what a drug court is, because I know when people have heard about it, they're asking, what does that mean? And there are some misconceptions out there about it, so it might be something to put on the agenda in the future.
I would like to see that paired with a report from our Falmouth Human Services Department on just what the impact is to families when you have, one of the partners in the family addicted, the kind of burdens it places, the kind of dysfunctionality that's seated, the impact on children. So I'd like to see, us have a better understanding of this problem. We hear about all the overdoses. What we don't hear about is the impact on the families that live here in Falmouth. And perhaps we could ask Susie Hopman to come in and talk to us about it as a way of educating everybody. Because I know with one neighbor, her daughter and son-in-law married, but one of them became addicted with heroin, and and the families basically had to quit buying a new house and sell it. There's 2 children involved, so the grandmother's taken over to do childcare because the woman has to work. That's the only income they have. So there are stories like this throughout our community, and I think they go pretty much unreported, and we aren't aware of them. So I'd like to see, along with the court system, kind of an insight into the impact it's having on Falmouth families.
Doug?
And one more thing, not to try to pile onto that, but a separate way, I think we do need to be more involved in this issue and take more active roles. I'd like to have somebody from Gosnell come and explain to us how this system is working when they're doing their placements, what the procedures are, and what type of guidelines they follow. Because I was reading the guidelines on sober house placement, and it says that when a facility that receives any kind of funding from state or federal aid, they have to make sure that where they're placing people is MASH certified housing. And I don't know how that gets really done. I'd like to hear from them how they manage that part and ensure that that actually is happening.
Good questions.
And there just aren't a lot of those certified homes, and Gosnell also doesn't, I mean, after you're done with if you're committed involuntarily you're not gonna be committed to Gosnell, you're not going, you don't get to go to Gosnell when you're sectioned, but you're gonna be going somewhere else off the Cape, but when you come back, or if you send yourself and you take yourself to Gosnell, you know, once you're done, you're not really under the control anymore, so as you do a step down, all of that stuff is gonna be voluntary, so I know that they make recommendations to some of the certified homes, but if there's not a bed available, or if the person doesn't wanna do it, you know, they can then be, you know, they're going to a different sober home that may not be the same quality.
Well, that's my point, is I think that we need to look into how many are certified and what the ratio is, and get a handle on what's going on in town.
Or, I'm sorry, just one last thing on that, maybe just an update, because there's a lot of discussion in town around sober houses, and I know we've had Frank come and talk about it before, but maybe just a little bit of an education about what limited, in fact, very little power the town has over it, so people can just understand. There's a lot of conversation around them, so people can understand that it's, you know, we don't have a lot of traction, but just so people can maybe
But we
understand
can
that.
still take an interest.
Yep, yeah, no, I agree. Put the information out there.
Doug?
Just to follow up from the joint meeting we had with the school committee, and particularly an issue with the carousel. And I hope we do put on it as a future agenda item. I know we're waiting first to hear the schools respond to it, but I'm a little concerned that we came across having no concerns, and after driving by the site, I guess I am gonna have a concern that that is just such a crowded area.
We're gonna do a review.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
And another thing, the Conservation Commission may tell us it can't be done.
I can't believe it could.
It's within their jurisdiction. So to me, we ought to say, can we even do this project here before we go and tell everybody and.
Unfortunately, I believe the school department will probably come back and say, wow, that's really close to the playground, but,
But so is it when it's sitting up in the corner there?
well, that's not during the school time.
Right.
Right, I still would love to see the library, the corner of the library lawn, Shore Street, be the right place for it. And the library lawn there.
Where the parking lot is?
No, off the.
So,
on the lawn.
Mr. Sousa, you're hearing more requests for coordination of this effort and to move this forward in a way that they're, you know, quickly before the summer, we find out whether this is, you know, how this is viewed by the school department, how it's viewed by town council, and how it's viewed by, potentially by conservation.
Yeah, I can advise that Jen McKay from our conservation administrator has had a preliminary look, and my general information is that it is more than 100 feet distant from Shivericks Pond.
No.
So it's not, it does not appear to be something that's gonna require conservation formal approval for that reason alone. But, you know, those other matters were, has been noted, we're waiting to get some feedback from the school committee, and I understand that they're gonna do a site visit as well.
Great.
At least that's what I anticipate, so.
So probably schedule our site visit right after the school committee.
Yeah, I think you sort of want to follow their lead since it's their
Exactly.
property, and.
That's my
the-
thought.
The town, bottom line, I just want to underscore, it's all school committee property, so we really don't have any direct purview on how they, you know, how they determine to utilize property under their purview, but we can certainly take that under advisement.
And then the purview, I know, was a question that was, Frank wasn't sure, I thought
There's
both.
procurement, a
both-
procurement issue.
Right, so, yeah, maybe all of that we'd get kind of ironed out.
Well, yeah, tentatively, and I think Doug Brown had raised that issue initially. You know, again, subject to legal confirmation, a license is something you can put temporary structures on, but not permanent structures.
Right.
So procurement requires much more significant advertising process, et cetera, et cetera. But again, that's all within the purview of the school committee, given that that's their property, but I'm sure that that will be a matter that they'll need to address as well. And just as a reminder, my understanding is they're going to remain in their past location for the current summer. This would be the summer of
Coming up.
2020.
Yep. Great. Town managers report.
Thank you. A couple items to update the board on. First, I wanted to provide an update on the, speaking of procurement, the procurement RFP process for the wind turbines as directed by the board late in January. I, Frank Duffy, Jennifer Petit, and Peter Johnson Staub are working with the consultant Weston and Sampson in assembling the elements necessary for the multiple procurement options outlined by the board. As a reminder, the board adopted two separate motions. The first, not to operate the turbines in town. The second, to direct town manager and town council to explore requests for proposals for lease operation outside of town, third-party interest in purchasing and taking possession to operate them as an energy project to run somewhere else, and the potential cell tower use and for what other use could a tower be repurposed. There are multiple nuances to this procurement process, as is obvious, which we are assembling with the assistance of the consultant and town council as it's governed by state statute through procurement. If all goes as planned, we should have a final product to advertise or issue within the coming month of April. And independently, I'll be coordinating this process with the appropriate representatives of Joint Base Cape Cod, who I'll be reconnecting with for the potential interest and participation at that time. Also, I wanted to confirm, it's been talked about, the joint boards meeting with the school committee was very successful, and as requested, I'll be working with Superintendent Doer in drafting a joint letter of inquiry to Falmouth legislators regarding the ongoing challenge of school funding. And I also was pleased to participate in the high school athletic field groundbreaking on Thursday afternoon and make some brief remarks representing thanks to the many, many persons so involved in the landmark project moving forward. It's very exciting to have that kicking off, as I know the members of the board, many of whom are in attendance, feel that way as well. Also attended the Cape and Island Selectmen's monthly business meeting this past Friday and took in the legislative update. As a reminder, town meeting begins on Monday, April 8th, and Selectmen's next business meeting is Monday, March 25th. And lastly, I'd like to update the board on a few further details of the periodic challenges we've been experiencing in the town's email address transition process. As we know, it has resulted in some emails being blocked or quarantined to a greater extent than in the past. And I want to advise the board that I've stressed to IT Director Greg Banwarth that we need to move beyond this phase of transition as quickly as possible while still retaining a reasonable level of email security. And I have a brief report which I had forwarded to the board from Greg. I just want to read an excerpt from that, if I may, Madam Chair.
Please.
Greg reports that our anti-spam system went into what he characterizes as overkill mode, specifically with the selectmen@falmouthmass.us address. They have, IT has instigated some short-term and long-term changes to correct this going forward. The changes will result in more spam entering into the selectmen's accounts for a little while, and that some correspondence could still be quarantined or blocked, albeit with less frequency. Our IT Director, Greg, and a staff member, Mike Bottomley, will be checking Selectmen's any non-delivered emails a few times every day, including weekends and after hours, until we have a level of confidence that the systems are learning what he characterizes as algorithms, and that those are up to par in terms of managing this important transition. So we will stay with that, and I continue to have a dialogue with Greg Banwarth, who's going to remain vigilant in getting us through this challenging process.
Appreciate that.
That concludes my report.
Just on that point, I know some people had asked, they had sent some emails about, are we getting people's emails? I think, he addresses that issue that, even if people get a bounce back because of the transition, we are generally getting
We're
the
still receiving
emails.
them,
We're
yes.
still receiving them. If I send something to Sue, sometimes I get the bounce back, but she's getting my emails,
Right.
and then they're checking through any of the quarantine span. So people should be fairly confident that these things are
Correct.
still coming.
And I should emphasize, too, that some people are misinterpreting an email response they get, which merely, in the case of the majority of selectmen, advises them that the selectman's email address is undergoing a change. But the old email address continues to be delivered.
Yes.
So some people have interpreted that to mean incorrectly that you're not receiving those. So those continue to go through, as you've mentioned, Megan, and with some additional fine tuning, hopefully this will all be behind us soon.
Yeah, that's an important clarification, because we really just wanted to, reiterate it's a process, and to, as Megan said, really assure people that we're making extra efforts to be sure we are getting everything. And if someone feels that we did not, we're hunting those down, and we do get a hold of them so that they can be routed to the proper person, or that we can respond specifically. The last thing, we just wanted to look at precinct meeting schedules and get an idea of who was available for what meetings. The first one for precinct 1, I don't know, Doug, are you available?
I'll be there for 1 and 2.
Okay, 1 and 2 will be Doug. Anyone else?
I plan to be there, but I noticed that 3 conflicts with it now, so.
Well, I can do any of these. I was looking at
Me too.
3.
Are you gonna do
Oh,
3?
hold on, I just like to keep a tally here. So we've got DJ at 1 and 2. Anybody else at 1 and 2?
Same.
Sam. And then for precinct 3?
I'm willing to do that.
That's on the 3rd, right?
Same day.
That's
Oh, the
the
same
Go-
day.
Same
go the
day.
same
Okay,
day.
I'll go to that.
Okay.
good.
Then we have precinct 4 on the 27th of March.
And I could do that too, if you
Same
like.
here, and it's precinct 4 and 7 are together.
4 and 7 both are on the
Yeah.
27th.
I
at
can
the
be at
same
that one as
location.
well.
Okay, so that's Brown and also Sam. And then we have 5 and 6.
I'll
I'll
go
be
to
there,
that.
yep.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
That's on the,
It's North Falmouth
North
Elementary
Falmouth
this year, yeah.
Elementary.
on the 4th, right?
Yes.
Right.
Correct,
April
April 4. And then on Thursday, March 28, we have precinct 8 and 9,
Yes,
7 PM
I'll be
at
there.
the Navigator.
I'll probably,
Megan
I'll probably go to that too. It's in my neighborhood.
and DB.
Okay.
Great, so we've got good coverage, and sure we'll be hearing some follow-up from planning, for example, and other representatives that'll be at these precinct meetings for questions. I think we're done. Is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
This might be a record.
8 o'clock.
Yeah, it's really a record.
Welcome to the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce. The Falmouth Chamber is dedicated to working on behalf of our members to make Falmouth a better place to live, work, and conduct business. We are committed to developing the economic, cultural, educational, and civic interests of our community and welcome the support from all organizations to achieve our combined goals. Whether you call Falmouth home, are a summer resident, or a visitor, we hope you take advantage of all that the Chamber has to offer.
Carlson Printing for all your printing needs. 508-548-7303 or toll free at 1-800-696-7303. Our email address is carlsonprinting@aol.com. Carlson Printing for all your printing needs.
Hosting services for fctv.org are provided by MegaNet Communications. MegaNet offers a wide array of internet services, including Mega Backup Cloud Service, server colocation, T1, fiber, Metro Ethernet, as well as telephone services such as hosted PBX and digital voice. Their #1 goal is to keep your communications network up and running and allow you to focus on growing your business. 877-634-2638 or meganet.net.